another episode of Beyond the Noise, where we do everything we can to get past all the cliches and all the cool talk about hard work and things paying off without getting to the root of how we get to the goal that we're trying to achieve. So today I got quite a few people with me, but I also have young Grace. So she is in the house again today. She will be on the wheels of steel, the turntables, the ones and twos, trying to make sure this thing rolls properly. I think she's trying to help Kenny, but I don't know if Kenny needs as much help as Grace is trying to give. With that being said, today's episode is brought to you by Speed School. Speed School Level 1. Speed School Level 1 is a digital course that is going to give you everything you need from soup to nuts to understand how to develop speed, power, and efficiency. Let me tell you what I do know. There is no athlete in the world that I know who runs fast enough. You can never run too fast, and speed kills. And I have one of the authors and originators right here at the table. Grace, tell them a little bit about Speed School and why they should pick it up.
Okay, it's great for your athletes, ages 12, so around 5th grade all the way through high school. It's great to work on the fundamentals and the mechanics of how to run the proper way, learning what we call the perfect movements, both in their warm-up, so basic dynamic movements and things like high knees, butt kicks, A-skips, small pieces that get overlooked sometimes, and a great way to keep working on your craft away from your coaches, away from your teams, and with some guidance. So you're not just out there looking up stuff on YouTube. Not that that's not a great idea, but sometimes you can develop some bad habits. You want to make sure you have someone who's in your corner and wants you to keep enhancing and developing as you keep going along. So it's user-friendly and great for parents to work with their kids and for kids to work on their own.
Absolutely, it's good for coaches, it's good for parents, it's good for parents of coaches, it's good for kids and kids of parents, and all those things that go along with that. So it'll also give you a chance to bond beyond the athletics, so you can't just look at your kid and tell them, try harder, run faster, reach, and all those other words that don't mean much whenever they're out there trying to compete. Today, I think is one of the most important episodes of the show, because we're going to talk about how these young athletes get so excited about being able to extend their career for 4 more years, and we want to get past hope, and then we want to get past talent and get into how we actually help them develop the skills and understand the knowledge of getting a scholarship. And who better to have than 2 mothers of amazing athletes who are either playing in college, was attempting to play in college, or now is playing in elementary or middle or high school and working towards college. So with me today, I have one Miss Sandy Lovell and one Miss Mindy Webster. They actually both work at the Texas Air National Guard. I don't know where we found Mindy, but she fell out of Utah down here in the great state of Texas. She was a cheerleader at Weaver State, and she has 3 amazing athletes. One who is 14 playing basketball now, and another one, Riley, who I know can ball, is playing soccer at 12, and Hunter is done with his athletic career. That's going to be an important point that we talk about a little later. And we also have Sandy, who, to my left, she has an athlete sitting who's going to play a little bit of soccer for the next 4 years. And like I tell all athletes that I know me to work with, all I want is a ticket. Give me a ticket, I'll come see you play. With all of that said, ladies, how are we today?
Good, great.
Good. Now, we will not allow one-word answers. We're going to get all the way into this thing. And all of us who are listening, please ask questions, because we're going to give you some real information about how this works. Now, I got a little bit of inside information. Mindy, I've worked with all of your kids, and Gracie has worked with all of your kids. Why? Why did you do it? Let's start right there. Why would you invest time, energy, and money into a recreational situation to see what might happen? What was the plan?
So when your kids come to you and they tell you they want to advance in their career, as a parent, you want to do everything you can to take them to that next level. Luckily, we had a coach who found you guys at the time and explained to us the different things we need. And my thing is I knew my kids had the speed, I knew they could play, but I also knew that they had little quirks that were slowing them down, not getting them to the next level.
Right.
So we wanted to invest that time, that money to get them to that level they needed by giving somebody, you know, just the proper way you run makes a huge difference in how fast you play your game and how fast you move.
So when do they start evaluating? Like how Riley is what, 12?
She's 12 now.
She's been playing club ball since she was 8 or 9, correct?
Yes.
When do they start evaluating these youngsters? Like a real evaluation where they're looking at them and going, hey, I want to start keeping up with this youngster and see how far we can take this, because maybe they can play. Either one of you, like
Yeah.
saying, when do you know when they start really evaluating?
I think it starts at a pretty young age, and it depends on what that parent is involved in. So most parents start with rec, and of course they don't evaluate at rec because
Right.
that's just an opportunity. But you have the opportunity to move on to academy, not DA, but academy just prior to club at 11 years old, where that's when they start evaluating you. That's when they start splitting you up based on what athletic ability you have and what maybe your rec coach gave you. So
Is there a scale, or are coaches out there saying, hey, yeah, that kid's gonna be good, we're gonna put him here, or that young lady can do this, or is there like a tool system or a recruiting system?
So there is a recruiting system,
Mhm.
but I think a lot of it more is just the tryouts, just the opportunity. When you see that so for my daughter, for instance, she was playing and she had been tracking her brother the whole time, wanting to keep up with him. And she played on a rec team and she got frustrated because those girls weren't passing the ball, they
Right.
weren't running towards it. She would just take the ball and go. So then you go to a tryout, but our experience with the first tryouts were they really looked at size, and that was it.
Really? So we're looking for
How
that
tall?
Yeah.
How tall are you? What physically can you do for me? And then it just is that parent finding it's not important to find the right team for them to be on, but at that point it's really what coach. Because, you know, what kind of coach do I want mentoring my kiddo? What do I
Right.
want my kid around? And who do I want to pay to do it?
Right,
Because it is a lot of
right.
money. It's definitely not cheap, so.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different atmosphere. In the 90s, you played school ball.
Mm-hmm.
If you were an all-star, you played all-star ball. If you were good enough, you didn't pay for either one of those. And then you may play on an all-star team, or you may go to a showcase of all all-stars, but it was never like tournaments every weekend and going out to here for a showcase there. And you got a youngster, you guys have been traveling like Colorado and Vegas since how old?
We've been traveling with Riley for probably 4 years, so.
She's 12 now.
She
so
is.
she's seen the world before. Jeez Louise.
Yep.
What are you going for? What is the purpose of that?
Well, you know, when we were with the coach we were with, the purpose we thought was to get better competition. But I'm learning that you don't have to necessarily travel far to get that competition.
Right.
Texas, we are in a state where that competition exists.
Yes.
So, you know, looking back at it, do we necessarily need to go to all those tournaments and the camps that we went to? I don't think so. I think the opportunity exists in a lot of, especially here in Texas, in the states that you're in, and you need to take advantage of those and hopefully save your parents some money. That's what I would encourage.
No doubt. Sandy, what are they looking for?
Are you talking about what are they looking for
In
with
these
these
showcases, in these tournaments? Who's looking to? Like, do you get actual coaches? And we're just talking soccer right now. We're talking about female soccer right now. We haven't even gotten to the boys, but do you get a lot of coaches there watching more club sports than high school sports? What would make you, like, how do you know what to pick? Because you can throw a rock and catch 7 clubs in a 2-step radius.
So I have a very unique situation because my husband happens to be, he was a club coach for many years and now he's a high school coach on the girls' side. So we see both, and unless you have a high school coach that is going to do some recruiting and talk to those coaches, it's not going to happen. Those coaches specifically look at showcases that are near them, and that's where they'll go. And Texas is a breeding ground for that. Now, I will say that they are not going to approach or talk to you or a parent or a coach until you're probably 14, and then they'll reach out to your coach and invite you to some of the camps. But you know, our big experience, the reason why we did a lot of traveling is that my daughter and my son created some of the best bonds they've ever had. And then because you play with that team, Texas is unique in where when you sign a contract, you sign that contract for the whole year.
Right.
Somewhere like Colorado, you're team hopping as often as you want to.
Club hopping, we call it club hopping. Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, by the time you're a sophomore into your junior year, that's when those coaches are really starting to notice, and that's when you really need to make sure that you're hitting some of those some of those camps of the schools that you're interested in.
Has it been explained to either one of you guys, Mindy, Sandy, has it been explained to you guys what the expectations are from coaches at the next level, what the coaches on the team expect? And in these showcases, are they actually showcasing the talent, or is it one or two coaches looking for 4 or 5 kiddos, and then you just got to try to shine with 1,000 people out there in a tournament? Because it's a lot of different things going on. What would make you believe that your kiddos have a chance to play for 4 more years?
So I tell you how we actually got a lot of the chances, and it was a learning game for us too with my son, because my husband didn't play college, but he did play club and such. It's reaching out to, when you see a showcase that you're going to, you look at what colleges are going to be there. You contact those colleges, because that's what those coaches want. They want to hear from that kid, from, okay, what am I going to offer you? Here is what I think you can see me on the field. Here's a short clip of what I've done in high school, or some things.
So you pretty much say, hey, you should be interested in me.
Absolutely.
Instead of waiting for asking the coach how good your kid is and see if they're going to put that information out.
Because they take that list and they know 2 things. They know, one, they know exactly the positions they're trying to fill for that graduation year for those kids.
For the 2 years.
They know
For the next
exactly
2
what they
years,
need. And then they're going to look at, okay, who contacted me that I kind of want to go see, because their email really got my attention, or I might need a center mid, or some speed. So yes, I think that's how those connections happen the most.
Gotcha.
Unless you talk D1, I think D1 is a completely different beast.
Well, that's a way different monster.
Yes.
And part of it is because of the budget. Some of them don't have different teams. Some of them are carried by the football program.
Exactly.
So there are a bunch of different factors that go with that, because soccer they don't really give full rides. So how do you get your money to play?
Right.
What is it that they're looking for that they'll give you the maximum that they'll give? How does that work for you? A lot of people think that, as a matter of fact, there are only 2 sports that I'm aware of that everybody gets a full ride: basketball and football.
Yep.
Everybody else, you got to split a lot of money.
Yep.
So, with that said, your kid is 12, won't be going to college for another 6 years.
Right.
It'll start getting serious in about another 2 years. What happens? What do you have to do? Let's talk about all the parents out there who are excited about the ability and skill of their child, because they're just excited because their kid's faster than the one a year ago, and they're getting better. Don't mean they're good, it just means they're getting better. But what are we looking for now? Because now it's business. Now you're trying to get them to pay for your daughter or son for as much as they can, for as many years as they will, so you can walk out of there without debt and some kind of education. What are you looking toward? What kind of things do you know you have to do now that you would advise parents to do?
So since I'm looking at it from my test dummy kid that I failed miserably, so I do have my 14-year-old, and I will say, and this is coming from the area I'm in, I'm a firm believer that you first have to build the rapport with your coaches, and the best way to do that is go to summer camps. Because a lot of your high school coaches are going to be at those summer camps. They're going to learn your kids' behavior.
Absolutely.
The middle school coaches work with the high school coaches. These coaches in middle school and high school, if you want your kid to make a team in a school like Keller, where they have 1 hour-and-a-half period to evaluate 100 kids trying out. So give them that opportunity, get them to the summer camps. From there, then you just have to raise a good kid who keeps up their academics, who shows up on time, that the coaches are reliable, because when it gets down to it and they get to high school and these coaches are coming in and wanting to see kids, they're going to listen to a coach who names a kid and says that's a good kid, over a kid that may have a little more talent but isn't reliable.
Yeah.
So
put money in the pocket.
Right, right. So, I think raising that kid the right way, who wants to be there and a part of that, getting them in the camps, getting their experience, keeping their academics up. You do want to start looking at registering, we talked about this earlier, for FAFSA, financial aid.
Talk to the people, because I can explain that and go into depth, but let them hear it from you, because that's one major part where you can get a little bit of money, you can put to the side, see how much they're going to stack in your pocket, see what you qualify for, How
Right,
does that
so
work?
academics will get you so much, but then FAFSA has to be done every year. You want to do it, you want to be, the day it opens, I put a thing on my phone at midnight, and I went in and applied.
Why is that?
So when I went to try to get my son in at a school, I found out that he could have gotten one of the 50 major military scholarships they have at the school just for being military, me being military, and he missed it. And it's because we didn't put in that FAFSA application, so the other 100 people got it before he did. So as soon as it hit that midnight, then when it opens, put it in, and it's the year before. We're
Yep.
talking October for the next October.
Right.
So, and you do it every year. So that's a huge thing that I missed out on and I didn't know, and then we were scrambling to try to figure out how to make up that difference for what my GI Bill at the time didn't cover.
So you had an opportunity, you just didn't know it existed.
Exactly.
So by the time you find out, you lost whatever amount of money they were gonna get.
Exactly.
Because then now you got that stress off, and now you one step closer to being able to walk onto that program,
Right.
and maximize your opportunity.
Well, and I think it was a turning point for my son too, because if we would have had that little bit extra money, he wouldn't have been looking for a job, and then I think he would have made more of a focus on trying to walk onto the basketball team.
Right.
But he was so focused on how am I going to live day to
get
day.
here, you know.
And so he got deterred, and then he didn't move forward with what he originally had planned.
Wow.
So it is an important thing to get engaged and find out what opportunities your school have, and not just, I mean, FAFSA is the starting point, but find out the scholarships that the school that your child's interested in, or the multiple schools, what exists, because there's so many different ways.
So many out there. And literally, if you just scroll through the internet and you look and say, oh, I'm interested in engineering, okay, I might live over there. That'd be
Right.
$2,000 just for doing an essay.
Yep.
Of essays, now you just paid for a semester. It's an interesting deal.
Most of your booster clubs have scholarships, which are usually pretty good scholarships. So definitely look into your high school scholarships.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for for Connor and for Riley, I know that I have kids that I've worked with and I've helped them find scholarships on their school's website, sometimes that their counselors might put up and things like that, things specific to the area, the Keller Chamber of Commerce. I got one through Northeast Chambers of Commerce, different city ones and local groups and organizations and nonprofits. I find that for every 25 that you apply for, you might get one.
Right.
Mm.
So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You got to put in the effort.
Yeah. It's a lot of time.
Right.
It's a lot of time.
But it'll pay off in the end, and hopefully, I didn't put the work in for my kid. I kind of was like, we'll figure it out. Well, yeah, we figured it out. He doesn't play anymore.
So I want to talk directly about that. You just led right where I want to go. We got to talk about talent. Everybody thinks their kid can play, and at some level, some of those kids are halfway decent at best. But halfway decent kids don't get scholarships. Halfway decent kids don't get scholarships. Just because your kid is good in your eyes, he may be halfway decent, she may be halfway decent at best, they ain't getting a scholarship. So let's go right into that. When they're evaluating, because I know in football we evaluate certain things. First, you got to pass the eye test. So if I got a quarterback who's 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 6'3", automatically I like this kid, especially if he's a junior. Now, if he's a little bit bigger, 215, 220, he just passed the eye test. Now, if I'm coaching at D1 and he has some talent and he has a little bit of speed, we might put him on the board. I'm gonna watch a little bit of film. I'm saying that to say, if I got one 5'9", and they got the same qualities, he will never make my board. Now, that has nothing to do with all of his talent yet. But then there are some who are just locally good. So they're the best on the team, or they're the best in the district, or they're the best in that league. So when you go to those showcases, there's 1,000 kids out there, and 27 of them might actually be elite, and the rest of them are decent at best. What are they looking for? Have they ever explained to you, has a coach ever explained to you, here are the things that they're looking for? For baseball, there's a 5-2 situation. It's 5 things we're looking for, we mark it off, and we grade it. For the way we evaluate, it's speed, athleticism, agility, and then specifics in your sport. Have they explained to you guys what they're looking for and the things you can improve on? So when you go to a showcase, you're not nervous and not knowing what is there to be expected, and then you can actually turn up your level. Do you guys know? If you tell me no, then we'll talk about this for the next 45 minutes. So,
I'm gonna say that it depends on what club and,
Mhm.
and who your coach is. I know that, when a particular club that my daughter played for, they were very adamant about often they evaluated and let you know where you stood and where they think you could go.
as far as
Whether
what
they
the
were gonna bump
evaluation
you-
consists of.
Right, whether they were going to encourage you to, if they were breaking off to, an ECNL team
Mhm.
or a development team, and
What
then
is
your.
ECNL?
Oh, ECNL is like the girls' top level team. Now that DA is out, so ECNL travels around. They play against national leagues, so they'll play nationally. I don't remember what it stands for.
So I guess what I'm asking though is like, what qualities do you have to have in order to make that team? Like, are you kicking hard? Are you quick? Like, what are we looking for in order for them to be at that level so they can get a real look?
So soccer is a very interesting sport because it's not just about the speed. So it
That's-
depends
okay.
on where a coach is coming from
Mhm.
and how they're going to coach their team. Are they going to coach a quick game where
Mhm.
they're looking for players that are 1-2, I've got the ball and then I'm passing it off and we're playing in a small diamond. It's a very Spanish way to play.
Mhm.
The Spanish league plays that way. Or are they long ball?
Mhm.
Are they about setting up and building the play? Are they smart?
Mhm.
And especially in a position in the middle,
Mhm.
they have to have knowledge of the game and can you see 2 plays ahead? So it really depends on what coach you're playing for,
Mhm.
and that's another lead into why you really need to know what kind of player you have,
That's where I was
so that you
going.
know what coach is going to be best for your child to bring out those qualities. Because if you don't have a quick player, somebody
Mhm.
that's not fast towards the ball but is very, very smart, then you don't want that type of coach that's all about the quickness of the game and
Right.
moving the ball fast.
So it really, your skill level is based on the style of play a little bit.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily your athleticism as it would be in baseball
Right.
or basketball or whatnot.
Mhm.
So how do girls get scholarships in soccer?
Boy, I think it's definitely going to the camps. I think that picking where you might want to go. I think you hit on you've got to know as a parent
Yeah.
really the reality of what your kid is able to do
How do you find that?
and what they want to do. I think knowing your kid. So I knew that my kids, although athletic,
Mhm.
they're not soccer superstars,
Mhm.
but they love the game. They're passionate about the game. So when we started looking at colleges for both of them, it was where do you want to go to school and have your academics
Mhm.
and spend the next 4 years? And oh gosh, let's make sure that they have a soccer team there too that you want to play on.
Right.
So girls getting scholarships, I think that it's just really important, one, to know your kiddo, have that conversation with your club coach.
Mhm.
Tell me, be honest with me, and then how much recruiting is that club coach helping you do and talking to college coaches?
How many parents are honest with the ability of their kid?
No, not enough.
So now you see where I'm going with that.
Yes.
So you gotta find somewhere where somebody can have some kind of standard of evaluation.
Right.
So you don't go in blind and you can start pushing towards the opportunity to play.
Mhm.
Because here's what I've learned. It's always, we love to deny the thing we're not the best at.
Mm.
So when I ask people, like, oh yeah, my kid, he can run 4.4 easy. And the first thing I think is ain't nothing easy about a 4.4, that's world class speed. So then I'll go, well, let's test it, let's put it on the clock, and then everybody goes, because now I can measure that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can pass that information to somebody who actually is gonna put that into where that kid fits in their system of recruiting. So as much as we talk about things being political or this amount, there's always a way. I'm asking for all the parents out there, and even asking, just maybe I might be making a few coaches uneasy. Is there a way you're evaluating the growth and development of these kids? So when you do have a one-on-one with the parent, you can say, hey, this is the level that I think your kid can compete at based on these things. Not, oh, they got quicker and they got faster and they got, they're a little tougher. Well, I mean, I know a lot of tough boxers that get knocked out because they ain't got no skills. So at 12, what do you think is the most important thing for your 12-year-old to learn now versus your 14-year-old to learn? Not necessarily the skill in the sport, but the development of athleticism. but you have a daughter going to college.
Yes,
She has to work on the skill of the sport.
yes.
So how do we find those things out? Like, where are you going to find out what you need to work on? I'm
So-
asking you next, so just go ahead and think about it.
I'm coming to you.
There it is, right there. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
You know, I
So-
have read a lot of articles, and because I'm a very competitive person. I
Mhm.
grew up in a very competitive family. So when our kids started playing, I was that parent that was
Yeah.
like, seriously, you don't see my kid as a superstar? Have
Right,
you not
right.
seen that kid? Okay, so I know she was off picking flowers, but did you see
Yeah.
before that? So I really had to educate myself
Mhm.
on what my kids were, what their ability was, and really what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, I really think it's important that we made sure our kids played other sports too.
Love it.
Because
Love it.
I think coaches, college coaches and club coaches, they do want that. They want that
Do you
versatility.
know what they're looking for?
The club coaches, college coaches?
College coaches. You know what they're looking for in an athlete that they want to bring to the program.
I think if
Coachable
you're,
kid.
I think if you're talking about anything but D1, they're looking for who can be a good part of my school,
Yeah.
because they're looking for the academics. They're looking for when we went and toured a lot of schools, they would encourage them, don't pick the soccer program, pick the school, and you get to be part of the soccer program.
For the most part, that's every level, including
Mhm.
I mean, because I was blessed and fortunate to play D1 football, and every level, for the most part, coaches are looking for people who can potentially fit into helping
Absolutely.
them win in a certain spot.
Mhm.
They don't really care about accolades. They don't really care about how many goals you scored.
Right.
I'm looking to see if that kid fits for where I need him to fit to help me for the next 2, 3, or 4 years.
And are you coachable?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're not
Are
coachable.
you
ain't no-
coachable?
Unless you are an amazing superstar, and then we try to
Yes.
make you coachable
Yes.
and put up stuff.
Yes.
And don't. And all parents don't believe for one moment that I learned and I heard and I've even said my favorite players are the ones who make the most plays. Period. Like my favorite guy is the one who caught those 3 touchdowns last week because he kept my wallet in his pocket, and we can both come play next week. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we got to be honest about that. So what are the things you think your kids need to work on just to have a chance? For us, Gracie, and I say this all the time, everything we do is about confidence.
Mm.
And confidence comes from knowing. And if you know how to do what to do, that's where the confidence is. And most athletes who don't have confidence in certain times or plays, it's because the person is big and they've been led to believe bigger, stronger, faster is whatever. They haven't been in that situation before, so the newness makes them nervous, or the speed of what's going on around them makes them freeze or slow down. With that, when you had 11, 12, 13, 14, when you turn your kids over to us, what do you expect from us as an instructor or speed coach or a goalie coach or skill? What is your expectation as a parent? And honestly, and then what do you think other parents expect based on the things you see?
I expect to see, improvement. I expect to see that what you're teaching her shows on the field or whatever sport they're doing. So if it's her running and she's T-Rex these days, I expect that I'm told you I don't want my daughter looking like T-Rex running down the field,
Yeah.
and that's where we're working to improve because it makes a difference. And when I see that she's now, starting to extend her little arms and legs and she's starting to run faster, then I know that what we're doing is working.
Mhm.
And I want to have an open relationship to say, hey, I don't think this is working for my kid.
Absolutely.
And come to you and be comfortable enough. But I would expect that from the coach, and I would expect you to be real with me and
Yeah.
say, look, what you want her to do is probably not going to happen. I can get her to this point, but I'm not going to get her to this. So I need to be coached too, to make sure I've got realistic expectations from my kid, from somebody that I trust and who sees these kids all the time.
What would be your expectations before they were set? Like if somebody said, hey, I need my daughter to run fast in the next 6 weeks because we got a showcase. I know that's expected, or else it wouldn't be stated. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody like us says, well, we can make it look better, I don't know how much faster she's going to be because of this, this, and this. How does that change the dynamic? Because you're still running up against a time frame. And what is your thought? Is the exercise seen as science or seen as recreational energy output. Because our kids don't even get tired a lot of times when they leave us, and we do that on purpose. But you'd be surprised how many parents have called, texted, emailed, walked out, and been like, I don't know if we're doing enough because, you know, they weren't really tired and they weren't really sweaty. And I was like, neither was I, because we spent 45 minutes teaching them how to do it right. So then you don't pull those hamstrings whenever they are trying to make them tired and sweaty. So I know a lot of times the expectation is exertion. We build concepts, so concepts take time. So what do you actually expect, or do people tell you, here are the things that we need to improve? How often do you get that?
I think it just, probably not enough. I think through your program we got that, through other programs we necessarily didn't get that. And I think the coaching, we haven't always had that.
Really?
So I do think it's important to find a coach that's going to give you those real expectations, or a league or a club that's going to give you those real expectations. So I want to see exertion in the game, but not necessarily at practice, because I think practice is about the technique so they don't get hurt and stuff like that. But that's me and being realistic. I don't think every parent is that way.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I don't think every parent is that way. I'd like to see, I know that some of the programs my kids have gone through as far as speed and agility, they start off day one, here's what you can do, and then by week 6, here's how much you've improved, because they're building on those concepts, those building blocks. So it hasn't, what I would expect is that not only are you showing improvement, and I guess not even a goal, but just an improvement, but are you helping my kid see why the improvement is important, and if they continue doing it, how it's going to just keep going. And I think that that's what I would expect more out of those programs and situations for
like
my
make
kids.
them understand why they just did what they did. How are they going to utilize that in the field, or on the, you know, whatever sport they're playing? How does that benefit them? Because if they're just doing something to do it, then they don't engage as much. But if they can say, oh wow, this helped me when I did this move around this girl because I lifted my leg this way, you know, then that makes a huge difference for the kids.
That makes so much sense, so much sense. So the most important thing in order to get a scholarship is being able to qualify.
Yes.
What things do parents miss when it's time? Now, I always talk about 3. And if the answer is 2, is no to 2 of them, then we're already too late. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think are the 3 things academically that kids need to do as soon as they are eligible to do them, in order to give them a chance to qualify, be eligible, whatever opportunities they need or whatever time they need, in order for somebody to actually give them a real look, so you guys can negotiate dollars. You didn't know you could negotiate some of your scholarship dollars, did you? You can negotiate scholarship dollars. So what are the things that you think as parent and kids should do immediately? Like right when they find out they're good enough to have a chance.
SAT and ACT.
That's
testing
number
and
1
preps.
right there.
You know, they've got to have those scores, because that's going to be one of the first things that they look at. Can you even get into the college or the university? Gosh, I don't even know what number 1 and 2 would be.
I would
guess
think
as I'm
volunteer
sitting back
time maybe.
Core GPA. Gotta know your core GPA. Not the overall GPA, not the weighted GPA with all the AP fun art day. I'm talking about core class GPA, the ones that take you into any university. So you got testing, core GPA. What's number 3?
So if you're going to say class rank, I wouldn't agree with that, because I don't think that's it.
That's not it, but that right there tells you how much money you can get. So we're gonna talk about that in a second.
Yes, it does, because that top 20%.
And if you got a certain test score
huge.
and you're in the top 15, you can pretty much go to school anywhere. And honestly, if you're a minority, you can go to school anywhere. And if you come from a single parent home, you can go to school further than anywhere.
Yep.
So I hope everybody's listening and quit relying on them cleats. But what's the
It's definitely more than that. Man.
Do you know Grace O?
Hey,
What is a Grace O?
Spit it out, Grace.
Being eligible for the clearinghouse.
You gotta go to the eligibility center and make sure you can
Yes.
actually
Yes.
compete.
Yep.
You have, like, I've had so many seniors that, hey, have you taken the test? Not yet, okay. Have you signed up at the eligibility center? Oh, we're supposed to do that next weekend. Okay, we can end the conversation. Now,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I get your test scores, and as soon as you sign up, and let's come back, and we'll talk about that core GPA that you never met your counselor that you need to go talk about.
Right.
So parents, all of you guys with these amazing 4 athletes and the fastest and the quickest soccer players on the planet, none of that matters unless you go get I would invest in tutors for those testing. I encourage every parent with a kid.
Absolutely.
I don't care if your kid is brilliant or I don't care if your kid don't like reading. Get a tutor, because the higher that score and the higher percentile, you get to negotiate the dollar amount.
And take them often too, not
Yes.
just once.
You can't,
Start
you
that
think
sophomore
7,000
year
times and
read,
just
yeah.
keep finding out what it
Keep
looks
going.
like. So if you're gonna invest in that testing, and then invest in the development stuff that I honestly believe coaches should tell you. There's no reason to go to a showcase if you don't know what you showcase.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like for football, we take our kids through all of it. You're gonna know what it feels like, what it looks like, those long delays, how they call your name and then you gotta go. It's 7,000 people in front of you. Here's what to expect. So when our guys go out there, they never come back going, well, we got this alone and I wasn't sure. Like, yeah, we've been practicing that for 2 months. Like, we've been prepping for that. Soccer is the same way. I've gone to showcases and saw kids who were amazing athletes and looked lost. And I saw one team, they were bigger than everybody else. They were like 8, but they were like 12, looked like 12-year-olds. But you could tell they've been to showcases before. Like, it was like they almost ran the showcase.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, there's no wrong in that. So when you're dealing with athletes coming up, your 12-year-old, your 14-year-old, and they start evaluating things, and you see the kind of athletes that are getting scholarship opportunities, what is your next step? What are you thinking? And let's be honest, how do you encourage your kids in these times of uncertainty when they're getting older and they're getting interest and all of a sudden interest slows down or it stops? Or somebody came to see them and y'all had a great conversation, y'all was high-fiving and hugging, and you hadn't heard from the coach in 2 weeks.
You threaten them. No, I'm just kidding. iPhone's gone.
How do you guys deal with that? And do you know why that occurs sometimes?
So I'll tell you that actually happened with my daughter. She was very, very interested in one in particular school. She had gone to the summer camps. She loved the school, did the tour, was accepted, academically was getting some money, and contacting the coach to come out and watch her play. And of course, the one time he says, yep, I'll be out there to play. Monsoon in Texas comes, the entire tournament got canceled.
He never heard from him.
Never heard from him again. So talking her through that and letting her know that, okay, that's okay. I know that was a choice school, but there are so many other things that this other school is offering, or other schools are offering. And you want to play. You don't want to that was the other thing, is that, are you going to go and sit on the bench?
Yep.
Just so you can say you're on the roster and you were there? I mean, there's a great thing about kids that are like, yes, but I'm going to make my way. There's that whole Rudy kind of concept of, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to play.
I hate that movie, by the way. I really do.
Oh.
Rudy never would have been able to play on our team.
Absolutely.
He never would play one down. But that's what I mean. Like,
false hope.
He didn't deserve it. I'm gonna make a lot of people mad. Rudy didn't deserve that spot. Rudy took like another good athlete's spot because he was a crash test dummy. Like, he wasn't even a real good athlete. That bothers me, but that's another story.
That's next week's podcast.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm going to break down Rudy.
But I think what you guys are saying is fantastic, number one. Number two, you guys are out there. So you're out there with a bunch of moms, and you're out there. And sometimes you hear these scouts and these coaches. I coach football in college. And what we would do, you're always recruiting. Whenever they allow you out, you're always recruiting. So if you had a home game, for instance, didn't matter the level. If you had a home game and you were a position coach, after all the meetings, you went and called some Friday local games. And we're not just out there looking and cheering. There is a real evaluation going on because we got to bring that information back to coaches. And then we want to get to know these kids. So the way I always explain, and I want you guys to touch on this, and I want you to tell me if anybody outside, even if it's a high school coach, anybody outside of your club has shown interest in the ability of Riley. When you're working through that process, or when coaches are evaluating, do you know what they were thinking, or do you know what they're looking for in those games?
So I'll tell you how it works at the showcases is that you have, the coaches won't even come on the side of the parents. And typically the club coach won't engage in conversation because they're talking. So every club has a manager. And although I was the manager, because my husband was definitely more educated on the questions, he would go, you print out a brochure, a pamphlet that has each kiddo. It's got some information for each kid on your team, if they're committed yet, what position they're playing, their GPA, if they've taken SAT, class rank, all that stuff that's important to colleges. And then they take that and they'll ask that manager questions, and then they'll ask either to talk to that parent.
So you're the recruit, the manager is the recruiting coordinator.
Pretty much.
So you got all the inside track. So
Yes.
you know what they're looking for.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what are the things that you know your kids may have now that may give them a shot, and then the things that they may need to work on that you know they could possibly do that'll give them a shot?
Are you talking about their skill set or
Their
the people
their
around them?
skill set. Because I got a question coming behind it.
Evaluate your children.
That's what. Now you see where I'm going with this.
All right. Well, Riley's fast. Riley's fast and she's
That
aggressive.
I can attest to. She is
So,
definitely fast.
but like you said, there's always room for faster.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those parents that I always feel like there's always room for growth. I think my biggest challenge right now is she's at this age where she thinks, I think every kid who was stronger at a younger age feels like maybe they don't have to work as hard as they get older.
Yeah.
But all these other kids are working harder behind them, and they're coming up and they're getting bigger and faster and stronger. And then sometimes your kids who have always been good just kind of, I'll get through it, I'll push through it, and they're not putting in all the work. So I think that's my biggest challenge right now is going, you're gonna have to put in work or I'm not gonna keep investing in you.
Right.
Because if you don't invest now, what's the point? Because we can go play rec if you just want to play soccer.
That is the biggest thing. I try to tell all parents, if you give me your kid at 17, you expect me to work a miracle. If you give me your kid at 12, I don't need to keep him for very long.
Right.
And because we're building foundations of concepts. If you want to learn Spanish, you got to learn the Spanish alphabet first.
Right.
Obviously, if you can't do that, stop.
Yep.
Cut it out. You're not good enough. You know. So with that, how did your daughter know this skilled young lady to my left? Who showed interest first?
As far as colleges?
Yes.
Gosh, I guess the University of Ozarks was probably the biggest push. That coach saw her play and in a showcase her junior year and started seriously recruiting her, calling her.
What level is that?
That's NAIA.
What conference is that?
They're not in the SAC conference. I don't remember which conference they're in.
After they showed interest, what was the domino effect? What happened after? They were first. What happened after?
Boy, it just seemed senior year, actually the end of the junior year into senior year, like she was saying, we would have many showcases because you stop playing advancing tournaments and you go more for showcases. And so we would pick showcases in areas that we knew she wanted to play in. She knew that she didn't want to go play in Colorado or Arizona or anything like that.
So you guys were really selective. You just weren't out there just playing in tournaments because they sounded like people would be out there watching.
Right.
Or, keep that point. Are those showcases the same way with 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds?
So they don't do showcases.
Okay, so
yes.
they do the tournaments leading into the showcase.
Yeah, so you'll have some coaches that are looking more to, I think, recruit for clubs.
Yes.
You know, trying to get kids to come over to the clubs. But
Do
the
you get
showcases are
invited?
older.
Do you get invited to the showcases or?
Some of them are invite only.
Okay.
Like the International Cup is a huge showcase that they have here, and that's an invite only. But most of them, you really pick one. You know, your coach needs to be really good about at what level are we playing at. So we want to make sure that if we sign up for a showcase, here are the schools that are going to be there. Are we going to be playing against a bunch of ECNL teams, DA teams? What are we playing against?
So that leads us back to what we were saying. She was finishing up with showcases. She got out of tournaments, led into the showcases. People were showing interest. School of the Ozarks. Then what happened?
University of Ozarks, and then we had a couple more showcases. We would get cards from and coaches from Kansas, from Nebraska.
What did they like?
They liked her knowledge of the game, and because she's center mid, she could see. Yes, she saw the field and she reacted to the field and she led on the field, and that's what they really liked. Not necessarily her speed, and they would directly tell her that too. They were like, "It's not your speed we're looking at,"
right.
But it is definitely how smart you are with the ball, and she's physical. You know, especially for her size, she's very physical and aggressive.
Well, when you say her size, I mean she's a little short.
Yes.
But, I mean, when you built solid.
Yeah.
You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? I mean, you don't have to be very big to knock things down.
No.
Ask a 9mm round.
That's right. and women's soccer is one of those that you know, to be her build is a great build for soccer. You know, but it is about her skill and what she knew about the game and what she could offer.
So again, the concept, the understanding, the skill. If you have enough talent, we'll be able to do that. Gracie, what do you look for in an athlete when you work with them?
I look for their ability to understand what I'm trying to get across to them, and then their willingness to be intentional behind what I'm asking them to do. The first part, because that half of that falls on me, making sure that they can understand what I'm asking them to do. It's not necessarily that they're not smart. It's my words might not make sense to them. I don't say pull the hammer back because that doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
So I'm not going to use that for you.
Right.
The second half comes from, all right, now I know you know what I'm asking you to do. How much better do you want to get in this time? Or are you just here because they're making you be here? So if that's the case, I'm going to make it to where we do work, but my investment to give you everything comes from, I know you're going to give back. And it's not, because it's not for me. Like, I don't win in any of that.
Right.
You win. Like, you go out there, you display these things, and then you're a walking billboard for me. So if anything, you're going to at least look good, even if that's not the thing that you want to keep doing. Because for some of them, it's not always
about college.
Yeah,
it's not always about.
That's right.
We have, and that's the thing. We have kids that just don't want to be embarrassed, or they just don't want to get hurt,
or they just want to be on varsity.
They just want to be on varsity, or they just want to be on the team because the cute cheerleader they'll be able to see from the sidelines. I don't care what the reason is. It all leads to confidence. I think confidence is everything. Which leads me to a hard question for young men. Connor and Riley are going into where, if they're trying to play for a couple of years and some of the things they do, it will matter. I know you're going to support that. Do you think they can play in college?
I think yes, probably on an academic scholarship, and kind of like what Sandy did with her kids, a lower level. I think Riley has more potential. She's more athletic inclined if she really puts her heart to it. Connor's more, he's an academic and he has to work hard for everything. I think he could if he has the right coach, the right grades, and the right mindset, but he's going to have to want it and he's going to have to put in that work. And do I think he will do it one day? If he absolutely wanted to, absolutely. But that's all him. I can't make him do it. I tried that with my oldest because he had the talent in the world.
Yeah, he was fast and he was strong with his form. Like, 'cause I worked with him. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
But he didn't want it as much. So if they've got to want it, there's nothing I can do to force it on them. If they don't want it, I can only provide that opportunity, but they've got to want it. And
what shouldn't parents do? I can give you 6 answers, but I mean, I want to know, like, as you go through that process and you're dealing with coaches and you're dealing with recruiters and you're dealing with showcases and you're dealing with club coaches and everybody is coming to you with all these amazing answers that sound so great. Some of them are spot on and some of them miss the spot without a real full understanding. What is your expectation of college? Is there like a D1 or you can't play, or you're not good enough to play D1, let's see if we can play D2 or D3. Like, what is that expectation, and why is that expectation?
Well, I guess
You're
from,
playing, young lady, so it's all good.
and I guess from our point of view, it really was, okay, but what's after college? So why are we, with depending on what the level is, do you plan on playing? Are you good enough to play after college?
What did you play?
Me. Okay, but don't laugh. Okay,
I won't.
I played basketball and volleyball. I know, not the.
But could you
There was
hoop?
no center.
Could you hoop though?
I could. I
Okay.
could.
So
Played a
you
lot of
went,
See, I'm not surprised.
you went to school to play basketball.
She had a scholarship for beer pong.
No, I didn't play college ball.
Okay.
I just played in high school.
Why not?
My dad was single dad, so, and he was very football geared.
Mhm.
Wouldn't let me play football. I got to play a little,
Okay.
got to play a little bit of baseball, but then it was like,
Gotcha.
yeah, you got to go to softball.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the parents that actually introduced that avenue for me, saying this is a possibility for you too.
So you were unaware.
Unaware,
Do you
and
think you could have played?
I absolutely, if my dad would have been interested in something that would have fit my physique a little bit more like soccer, I absolutely believe I could have.
So what advice would you give to dads and moms out there with those kids that they think their kids should be doing, being or playing something?
I really think every kid is going to be different, and you have to understand, and every kid is going to hit their moment different. I remember my son playing and sitting there thinking, I can be a band parent. I can seriously be a band parent. It's okay that he's not going to play. And then all of a sudden it was because it was his decision. It was his decision that it meant everything to him because, like Mindy, we were very much, I love the club soccer atmosphere. I love everything it offers.
Right.
But I'm not going to pay this if you're not planning to go play college.
So it has to be something beyond that. This is an investment.
Absolutely.
This ain't, hey, let's see if we can play. You can go play
It's a
rec
lot
to see
bigger
if
If I'm going to
yeah.
pay for this kind of coaching,
Yeah.
it's where's it going to take you now? And there are still kids that she's played with that just play because they love the atmosphere of it,
Right.
and their parents can afford that, and that's all and well. We had a great coach, but for us, for our family, it was very much no. It has to mean something after that. So when we started looking at colleges, we were realistic with our kids. We knew that our kids weren't going to go play beyond college. But we wanted to set them up for something.
That's our last topic, and we may go a little longer than you want us to, but that word realistic is something that I couldn't wait for y'all to bring up. But okay, so with you had an idea based on the interest that was being shown.
Yes.
So it made it a little easier, and then as you went, you had to navigate that process
Yes.
along the way. When you're a higher level, like D1 basketball, football, or like you're highly touted in track, you never have to navigate that process.
No.
They just walk you through it. I didn't. They walked me through the process. Greg, we need you to go take this SAT on this day. Okay. Greg, we need you to go to your counselor. After they went to my counselor and said, hey, I need you to pull those transcripts because we have these transcripts. Okay. But as I was coaching and I was learning and I was like, because at D2, we do everything. We do it all. We get all the tapes together. We do all the driving, like you. So you do it all.
Yeah.
So recruiting for us was super difficult because our biggest competitor was junior colleges because all kids had that aspiration to go play Division I. And they've been led to believe it's Division I or bust, no matter how much information is out there right now. So your kids want to play. How do you explain what's realistic? Because my definition of realistic never matched the parents' definition of realistic, and I've made a few of them upset. So let's talk about it. So what is realistic to you?
It's hard to, I guess, define. I don't know. I guess I have a bond with my kids. So when I tell them something, they may not like it always.
Right.
But I'm always honest with them. If I think, and maybe sometimes I shouldn't say it in the middle of the game, but if I think they're being lazy, then I'm gonna tell them, and they know that.
Yeah.
But I'm also gonna be, if Riley needs to work on her footwork for soccer, then realistic is go look at that other girl. I'll take an example in their age group and say, look at her and your skills. Yes, you can kick, you can nail that ball, but you need to get your footwork. Think about.
Okay.
Right.
So your realistic is this is where you are and this is where you need to be.
Right.
And there's a gap. So your
Right.
realistic is attainable.
And I'll give them an example of somebody like a friend of theirs, and say, hey, you know, like Sierra's got this amazing footwork. Riley, do you think your footwork is at her level? And they're going, no. So they can compare themselves, and then that's kind of their goal to set. And the same with Connor. He's got friends that play basketball, and they're club basketball players. He wants to be a club player. So he's looking at those kids saying, okay, what are they doing? And that's how I'm telling him, watch what they do. Watch how he plays.
Maybe that is an excellent explanation. It's visually attainable.
Exactly.
So it's realistic.
Exactly.
We get a lot of parents that say, hey, listen, you know, I know my kid's not going to play D1, but that's just not realistic. Well, why not? I do ask that question a lot. Why not? And if you can explain it, then you're not realistic. Because there are some, maybe you don't fill out the application properly. You don't pass the eye test. You might not be big enough. They may have 4 quarterbacks, or they may have 3 mids, or they may have, you know, 2 forwards in basketball. So you just not gonna fit at that school. It has nothing to do with your ability right there. You may be the best running back in the district, but you also might be 5'8", so you're not playing in the SEC because Leonard Fournette was 6'3". Why would I put 5'8" back there with 6'3"? Why would I put a 5'8" DB back there to get trucked by Leonard Fournette? Like, you're not big enough. You see what I'm saying? Just like women's soccer. Like, look at the women's U.S. soccer team, and then listen to a parent talk about how good their kid is, and just put the tapes next to each other. And if I don't see the potential in that to become something close to that, it's stuff that needs to be worked on. So what things do you say in order to encourage realism? Because my definition of real is this: if it's visually attainable and you got time to work at it, I'm confident you can figure out how to get it done. Spoiled Will is 5'7",
That was the poster I had in my room. Spud Webb.
But you see, I mean, like,
Yep.
now God gave him a lot of that.
He did. He had some hops, but
But
yeah.
how, like, if he don't try it, like, he had to look up there one day and go, I bet I
Can
can
I?
dunk it. You know what I'm saying? So, and it wasn't, because if I walk past one, I'm like, man, take your 5'7" throw me an alley. That's how, you know what I'm saying? But realism is based on the opportunity you have, the information you have, and how long can you work on that thing. That's the way I see it. So what can you tell parents that work with your kids, or parents that have kids that's going to clubs and they may have that 7-year-old that's faster than everybody on the planet, because all kids are fast, or they're just slow because they're just kids. Their speed changes the moment they wake up in the morning. But we all think our kid is the best at whatever. But when your kid stops being a kid and they become part of this process, what's realistic without it sounding unattainable?
I think that the comparison thing is a good idea. So I know that you can follow what workouts those U.S. women national team players are doing every day. How often do they have the ball at their feet? And is that something that, and again, it has to be that kid's choice. Are you going out and doing it? Is it still fun? Because if it's not fun,
Ain't no sense in doing it.
no,
It's still a game.
It's
still a game.
It shouldn't be considered a job.
No, it's still
It
a
should.
game.
So once they stop having fun, then the parent is asking too much, and their realism is way out the door. So to have that conversation with them, I think going to these showcases, knowing what level of team they're playing on, and having conversations with those club coaches, because you can ask for an evaluation from any club anytime.
So you can ask your club for an eval, and they'll write that out for you, and they'll show you where you are.
Yes.
I encourage every parent on earth that's listening to this right now, if you can humble yourself enough to say, hey, I'd like my child evaluated in whatever their evaluation structure is, I think that is fantastic, because for us, we do evaluate, we do assessments and consults. You've been a part of it. This is where your kid is. This is the amount of time you gave us to try to be where they want to be. Here is the plan to try to do that. But you can't create a plan if you're like, is my kid doing good? Oh yeah, they're doing great. They're so much better than they were last week. Well, last week they kind of sucked, so they still suck. They're just not as sucky. You know what I'm saying? So, better don't mean good. But if we can put some measurables to that evaluation, then it gives all of these kids a realistic chance, and parents a real view of what it'll take to get to a certain point. Are you excited about going to school?
Oh yeah.
What's exciting you the most about it?
Well, soccer, but mostly I'm excited about just kind of starting over and making new friends.
Okay, so let me ask you a super hard question.
Okay.
What are you gonna do when you stop playing soccer? You've been playing soccer for more than 90% of your life. You're 18 years old, you've been playing soccer since you was 3. That's 15 years of kicking the ball around. You don't even get to touch the ball. You gotta kick it around for 15 years. So you're going to school and soccer is affording you the chance to go. Why are you going to school?
I'm going to school to be a physical therapist.
Now we getting something. You see what I'm saying? So play as long as you can and then start helping people like me with these raggedy.
Always gonna be needed.
You were a cheerleader.
Yes.
Is cheerleading a sport?
Listen, Linda.
Let me get 5 more minutes. I couldn't wait to ask you that. I had to, because I know
There's
cheerleaders gonna
more
have. First of all, let me
injuries.
tell you something. Can you flip? No.
I can't quote the exact study,
Okay.
but there was a study done, and there's more injuries in cheerleading than any other sport because of the throwing in the air and the jumping and the different movements you do. And we would have football players who would come out and try to cheer with us in the spring, and they did it to stay in shape.
I have the utmost respect for cheerleaders because I know what it takes just to be stable enough to and not be dizzy when you finish. I mean, it's crazy. Now,
I can't even do a cartwheel.
can
Yeah, but it's not pretty.
people earn scholarships for cheerleading or dance?
They can. I guess it just depends on what school you go to, like any other program. I'm kind of like how Sandy grew up. My parents backed our sports, but they didn't engage. We didn't have the special camps and all the different things. So I just got lucky and somebody mentioned to me one day, hey, Weaver State's having cheer tryouts. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go try out. But you can, and so their varsity had scholarships, and then the JV, which as a freshman I was on JV, they didn't have scholarships. So it just varies.
Is it classified as an academic scholarship or athletic scholarship?
The varsity was athletic scholarships.
So cheerleading is a sport.
Yep.
Now you see what I'm talking about. So there are so many different opportunities for people to pay for you to go to school. I guess what I'm saying is school afforded me this opportunity. Like somebody paid for me to go to a school nobody in my family would have been able to afford.
Right.
Those are facts. So the one lesson I'm trying to get all these parents to understand is that you specifically don't always necessarily need money for your kid to go to school. That's part 1. Part 2, stop telling your kids to get your books. That doesn't mean anything. Invest in those SATs, invest in tutors, understand when to take the test. For everybody who complains about money and you want to start a college fund, what should they do first, Mindy?
Apply for FAFSA.
Just like that, okay? And then get online, Gracie, and what should they do if they just want somebody to give them some money?
Oh, scholarships, man. You have to apply for scholarships. Easier advantages. I mean, I milked being Mexican.
That's why I'm trying to get my Indian card.
No, like it really does help. Like I mean, I didn't have to pay for school until my second semester, junior year in college. I actually had to start using the money that I worked for because that's how I paid for my tuition. I mean, I have a small amount of loans, but I mean, when you look at $5,000 in loans for 4 years worth of school, in the grand scheme of things, I won.
There you go.
Yes.
There you
And
go.
that was money that I didn't have to give back.
There it is. And so I think it's important. I'm an advocate. I think every kid that plays a sport should go to school. I don't care if it's one and done. I don't care if it's baseball, because it's going to propel whatever your next career is. And then you're going to take all of those athletic lessons that you're learning, the wins, the losses, the friends, the camaraderie, the terrible coach, the amazing coach, all of those things you're going to carry with you. And it's so much easier for athletes to get jobs in pharmaceuticals, to get jobs in sales, to get jobs as leaders, simply because the expectation of what you go through over those 3 or 4 years gives you an advantage. Okay, so any other words, anything you would want to say to your, because I'm about to shout the fever out, your teams, those kiddos on those teams, anything that you expect, and now I'm going to put you on the spot. You work with us. Tell people about your experience with us. Remember, you check us in the mail. Let's make sure you
Read from the prompt.
Okay, so let me just throw out 3 things that I wanted to make sure I covered. When you do, big mistakes I made is I had my son email the coaches, but we didn't send highlight videos. Big mistake. Send your highlight videos. I know, I learned. I said he was my test dummy. So highlight videos. I didn't get him involved with something like a speed and agility to understand what to do at those, the combines they do before for the different camps.
And we talked about that.
Yes,
That's
and
right.
that's when I'll
Yeah,
plug
we
you
got a
in.
little
I'll
late.
plug
Yeah,
you
that's
in
right.
here in a
I
minute.
just thought about that. I'm sorry.
So engage in those up
Yeah.
front, because we kind of went cold turkey, and I think, again, I set this poor kid up for failure, and I think it deterred him. And then finally, I went and found all these camps, and I was like, oh cool, we're gonna go to this one, we're gonna go to this one. I mapped it all out. It was the same college coaches at every one, and that was just a waste of my money.
Don't go camp.
No, so hit up the one, find the colleges that you think are realistic that he's gonna go to, not just go to a camp because it's got a big name.
Yep.
Realistic for his skill set, realistic for him, because they're not even gonna get there a blink of the eye.
Realistic
So,
based on what?
based off their skills and what your coaches have evaluated and said
Thank
they can
you.
do.
That's what I'm saying. Realistic off evaluation.
So that plugs into my experience with you. If we
Mhm.
would have come to you at Connor's and Riley's age, which we're re-engaging that now, I think Hunter, my oldest, would have had an excellent college career. He may have not gone any further than that. He may have only done 1 year, but at least he would have done it. And I think we missed that opportunity because he wasn't prepared to go to these camps. He wasn't running properly. He was, he just was missing some of that technique that would have made him that much more of a player, coming off the line fast enough, making that first move. So all these things, and you guys do a realm of everything. So my thing is you guys aren't just one sport focus.
Right.
If my daughter is wanting to try out for volleyball and basketball, so what you teach her just in the skills that she's doing, she can take to all 3 of the sports she wants to be in. So I think it's a huge thing. That's been my experience with you, with Gracie, and just you guys are very engaged in what these kids want to do. And so I would 100%, I plan on my kids going so I don't make that mistake, and my little test dummy will one day forgive me.
We'll get them right on together. You don't have to worry
Yep.
about it. We got you covered.
Right.
Not a problem. Is there anything you want to just encourage these parents to do? Because especially in football, I mean.
Well, in soccer, I think it's important to encourage parents to let your kids be part of the process too. Don't do the process for them and say, hey, that's what you're going to go do.
Yeah.
Let them do a little bit of the research, let them do a little bit of the legwork on it, because if they're doing the legwork, it's going to mean something to them. Then they really want to do that, and that's almost a test of their, okay, are we really heading the right direction? Or you want to do it because you want to do it, or you want to do it because Mom wants
I'm
you to do
pushing you
it?
towards it. Yeah.
Right, because you don't know anything else. So that would be my encouragement, and then just constant communication and evaluation feedback from your coaches. You're paying them, you're the customer, so.
And you got to know how to ask. Never ask,
Absolutely.
why ain't my kid playing? What do we got to do to get better? Hey, listen, it's evidently you're looking for some stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you're evaluating, and can we get an evaluation of it?
Mhm.
Coaches like that kind of stuff. But the moment you question their coaching, you might well never call them again. If you'd be surprised how many parents I just had on speaker, and every once in a while I went, okay, I understand. I wasn't listening.
But it's all,
We have a coach like that.
Yeah.
So,
It's okay to, I think, I'll just say this real quick, I know we're cut out short on time, but I think Connor's realistic moment was from a coach. So as a coach, let a coach be the person who does that, because basically this coach did not give him a game ball the whole season in baseball. And I looked at Connor and he was crying because it was the last game and he didn't get that game ball again. And I said, well, did you earn it? And he said, no. And I'm like, well, then why should your coach have given it to you? And he said he shouldn't have. And I said, then why are you so upset? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, then what are you going to do about it?
What are
And
we
he
gonna do about
said,
it?
I'm going to work harder. So a coach changed my child's life by being a realist with
Don't
him.
sugarcoat.
And didn't sugarcoat it. He had to earn it. And guess what? He came back and he got the first game ball that next season from a completely different coach. And he earned it. He earned it.
Go get that.
So, as a coach and as a parent, you've got to make them tell you why they're not getting or getting what they're earning and not earning.
And I think it's okay to continue to encourage your kids to go talk to that coach too. If you don't know, ask.
Ask.
You know, if you didn't get it and you're not sure why you didn't get the play time, ask.
But ask it the right way. Don't
Right.
like, Coach, why I ain't playing
Yep.
is the best
Absolutely.
way to not play.
Yeah.
So, it's, Coach, listen, evidently you're looking for something.
Mhm.
What is it that I need to
Right.
do
Yep.
to improve those things you're looking for? So
Empower
what I would say is humble yourself enough. If you're on a club team or you want to showcases or you like in baseball, AAU, I mean, it doesn't really matter like that. Where are you?
Yes.
Like where do you stand in this evaluation process? And then in 8 weeks, 12 weeks, how far have you come?
Mhm.
Everything should be measurable, because that way when you get out there, you have a chance. You study for the test, basically, is what I'm
Right.
saying, and you have an understanding of, now you can go showcase your talent, showcase your skill. Now the big kids they're just big, is what they are, because now you're skilled enough to do it. That's part one for me. Part two is don't be a helicopter parent. You know what I mean by that, right?
Unfortunately.
Don't be like, don't hover, don't call forward, don't stand next to me and speak for me. We spot helicopter parents is because I'll look at, tell me your name one more time, sweetheart.
What?
Tell me your name one more time.
Addie.
I'll look over here at Addie and say, hey Addie, what's your favorite thing to do? And then you'll take your eyes from me and take them directly to her. She's not your spokesperson. You know what I'm saying? I ask you. And helicopter parents, all that hovering makes it real difficult for a coach to actually evaluate your child. And the last thing I have, and then Grace, so you go with it, is this. I am not recruiting your child. I'm recruiting a child until your child is good enough for me to recruit your child. So parents, your kid is just a kid until they're good enough for me to ask you about your kid. Period. I gotta look at 1,000 kids.
Right.
If yours is just as decent as the other 800, those 200, I need to talk to their parents. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be realistic with that. I love club ball. I love the opportunities kids get these days. I love that girls get a chance to compete and showcase their talent and get scholarships and all of those things. It gives my nieces a chance to go out there and give me a reason to go hop on a plane and watch people play. Great. So what do you got? How can Speed School help these kids who are going to run a faster time add another $1,000, $2,000, $10,000 to the bottom line of the scholarship?
I mean, it does what any athlete wants to do. It helps them to perfect the minute details of what they already do on a regular basis, like making sure that they're striking their foot in the right places so that they can get that quick first step that Mindy was talking about, so that then it doesn't just become about their vision, it becomes about how quickly can they get to those places combined with your vision, so that those things only become enhancers of what you're already good at. Aside from the skill in soccer, aside from the skill in basketball. Because if you look at any great player, they're always looking for people to give them a different perspective. I always talk about Kobe because he's my dude. I mean, he was years deep in the league looking for help from Hakeem Olajuwon on how to be a better inside player. Like, this is something that they have access to, and other kids too, so what are you doing that's going to give you that advantage for those kids? One more opportunity to open a door for them to not only just go to school, but to be a better player, to have that confidence.
Yeah. So Mindy and Stacy, on May 12th, you're going to get some information from us, and we're going to send you that digital Speed School program for absolutely nothing. So you guys get that, and if you don't open that program and use that, I'm going to find you, and I'll hit you on top of the head with a beanball hammer. A pinball hammer. I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you guys those digital programs. We're coming to hang out with us today, and then we want you to try to tell us how well it worked out for you. I'm excited about the opportunities that your kiddos have. I can't wait to get back to work with you. And if you guys want an assessment and an evaluation, and you aren't very sensitive, because I've had one or two come in and never come back and say because we were mean in our evaluation, We would love to show you what we see and what you can improve on and see how far we go. Is there anything else?
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
for
been
coming.
awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoy every moment of it. Good luck to you, young lady, and we will see you.